this is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you so much for watching. This show is created to discuss live topics and to give you resources and tools, hopefully challenge and transform your thinking. So today I have a very wonderful organization here with me, and I'm going to try to say it all, right? So it is the Connecticut Women's Education and Legal Fund. And today I have Kate C. Farrar with me, and she is the Executive Director. And CWEALF has advanced women's rights and opportunities in Connecticut since 1973. CWEALF is a statewide nonprofit organization that advocates for and empowers women and girls in Connecticut, especially those who are underserved and marginalized. They work to create an equitable society where women and girls thrive. So I want to welcome Kate here. That's a lot to say.
It's a lot to say, a lot to do, right? So yes. A lot to say, a lot to do.
A lot to say, a lot to do, but we're going to break it down so that our audience can really see what it is you're doing.
Excellent.
I went on your website and was reading so many wonderful programs that you have going, so much educational aspect to what you guys do.
Yes.
And so first I want to welcome you, Kate.
Thank you.
And I wanted to put you a little bit in the hot seat a little bit.
I like
and,
it.
I just ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes.
And then we can jump right into CWEALF.
Wonderful. Well, I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank
and
you.
I should say that a little bit about myself is, you know, I am really one of those people crazy enough that has always wanted to figure out how to make a difference in the world. Mm-hmm. And for me, that really started when I was in college. I went to UConn, and I had a class in which I had to interview a woman in politics. And I have to tell you, I was a junior in college, and I'd never even met a politician.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Right. You just, I had no idea. I had no idea. You know, I knew they existed, but I never met one. And I reached out to who was the local legislator in the Yukon Stores area, and that actually was our now Secretary of State, Denise Merrill, but she was a state representative at the time. And in that interview, she invited me to come to the state legislature, see what she did every day, and intern for her there. Oh. And I, again, had kind of no concept of what happened in the state capitol building. And by going there, I really saw two things firsthand. One is I saw that in Hartford, not in Washington, D.C., not in New York City, they were making decisions about things that I really cared about, like the environment, like women's rights, like healthcare. They were all being made in Hartford, and I really had no sense of that before. And then secondly, I think it was the first time I saw so clearly how few women there really were in decision-making positions. And those things really stuck with me, and it's actually led to now a 20-year career of working in nonprofits, primarily on women's rights. And also, I'm proud to be from Connecticut. I left the state and moved home with my husband about 5 years ago.
Oh, great.
And it's great to be home and leading an organization that fights for women and girls every day.
Yeah, and they really do fight for women and girls. I was reading, like, you really give a lot of tools and education to women and girls, and that is empowerment, right?
It is.
So I know that you have a lot going on, so we'll try to get these in nuggets for people.
Yeah, sure.
And you have a legal education program.
We do.
Right? And so that goes alongside, I think, with your career and what you've been, going through as well. So legal education program works to guarantee equal rights, right? Educational social services systems, and tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So something that for many of us we don't often think about until we're faced with it is in our legal system, in our court system, you are able to access an attorney at any point in time when you have a criminal case. But if you have a civil case, meaning something in regards to your family or workplace discrimination, you are not guaranteed representation. And what that means is that in our state, many individuals can't afford representation. And where our organization fills a void is we do have legal services around our state that can provide a certain amount of pro bono services, but that is only for individuals or families that are at the poverty level or below.
Okay.
And there are so many families in need that aren't at the poverty level or below, but cannot afford representation. And therefore, we primarily serve women, low-income women who have children, who are trying to understand their rights about divorce, about custody, about issues in the workplace, about domestic violence, about immigration issues. And in many cases, they have nowhere else to turn because there's no other legal resource for them. And therefore, people call us, email us, visit us every day. And because we're statewide, the way that works is anyone can call, email us, visit us, but then we actually connect individuals with a statewide legal network that we have in order for them to get consultations from attorneys and get access to legal information and to decide if they want to self-represent and kind of learn how to do that, which we support them in, or if they want to use one of the attorneys. And as you said, it is really not just an eye-opening process for many women that we serve, but it can be very empowering for them. And one of the things we just launched this year is a new program called She Leads Justice. And for the first time, we are actually training previous clients of ours to be peer advocates for other women, but also to take on community issues in their own community and advocate, very similar to some of our policy and legislative work. And for us, that's really a continuation of what many of our clients have asked us for. Some of our clients work with us for years, through custody battles, right? And because they learn so much and they feel like their lives have been changed, they want to help other women. And through this new program, She Leads Justice, we are training them so they can really do that.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm listening to you talk, I'm also getting the little nuggets of they've been with us for years and they help us through custody. So that means you're not just spilling and screaming information at them, but you're actually kind of helping them through that information too, right? Because the legal system is scary.
It is.
Especially when you don't speak that lingo,
Agreed.
right? You're just like,
or
the
language in particular. There's
language,
significant language barriers,
and if you're somebody who is an immigrant and doesn't speak English well, now you're contending with that too, right?
Agreed.
I saw on your site a lot of information also translated in Spanish.
Correct.
Which I was like, wow, that's so empowering.
It is.
It
is.
So what it sounds like to me is that you're just not giving information just to give it, but it sounds like you're also holding hands a little bit and guiding, which is so important.
Yeah, we really take an approach of really trying to ensure that we will be there for anyone that comes to us, if it is just a phone call or if they want our support, day in and day out. And often, as I shared, because of the type of case, it's one of the reasons, we feel so strongly to have our services, completely free, completely open door.
I didn't know
because
that. Okay, so it's completely free as well.
because often, for individuals who are in cases, yes, they might have, the first hearing, but the issues that they're facing could come back for years, and we want to make sure that they know no matter what's going on, be it to have the moral support, be it to understand how to fill out a new form, be it that there's a new development in the case with a custody battle, that we're really there. And that is something, from our founding, we were actually founded by women lawyers who were some of the first women lawyers who went to law school in the 1960s. Wow. And they wanted to make sure that there really was somewhere that was, a completely open door on a continuous basis, if it was one question or if it was really years of support that might be needed.
That is so powerful.
It is.
When I was looking at CWEALF, I'm like, how did I not know about this?
I know, right? Don't we always? We say that all the time. We say that all the time.
How did I not know? Like, wow, that's so helpful. you know, it would have been helpful to me back when, but it also like, how many people don't know about that right now, right? We got to get your name out there.
We have to, and I would say, you know, we find in our own research of how people find out about us, a third of the individuals who come to us are referred by a community organization. So, you know, someone that they go to that they trust, who then refers them to us, right?
Okay.
Another third are referrals that we get from legal service providers themselves, who either can't serve this individual due to eligibility, or often legal services are just over inundated, right? They don't have the capacity, and they'll refer people to us. And then the final third is really word of mouth, right? And again, being statewide and, you know, being a small and mighty, you know, nonprofit, we have to depend on word of mouth in a lot of ways.
It's always the best
because
way.
you know, you want to have that trust. You want people to trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you're offering so much, I think because I was reading through it and I thought I saw free services, but I thought some services were free.
No,
I wasn't aware that
everything
all of it.
Everything free, confidential, and bilingual. Everything.
And I think that a lot of maybe layman people like me who would look at it will go, oh, this is probably going to cost me something. So that's so good to know, you know. And it's such a clarity, something that I think people need to be really clear on, you know, because it is a scary thing. It just is, you know. It's never comfortable. And I saw that going back to what you were saying earlier, I wrote in a few down. About the organization, some of the booklets and the topics that you help clients with, which was like child support, alimony, custody, visitation rights even, court cost and fees, divorces, you know, like information on divorce and children, on money, do-it-yourself divorce guide, which is really important.
Absolutely.
Pregnancy and Family Medical Leave Act, restraining orders, sexual harassment in the workplace. I mean, you guys are touching a lot of things here. Title IX, women work in sexual discrimination. Is it Title IX? Did I say that right?
Yes, you said it right.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know that you have other things going on, so there's a lot of things we're going to touch. Another thing I saw there was information and referral.
Yes.
And it's a unique service that provides information on family matters, equal education for girls and women, workplace issues, and discrimination. So what is information and referrals?
Yeah, so this is when anyone calls or emails us with an initial question. We actually really try to talk through kind of the breadth of their issue to identify, is it just one legal question, or are there greater needs there? Particularly often you might imagine with instances of domestic violence. Someone might contact us, and from that information we might determine that there is a crisis situation, and therefore we'll provide some information, but then we'll use our networks to refer them to often to serve those immediate needs, and then they can come back to us, you know, once they might need some of our legal guidance later on. So we really use really kind of our guidance of staff, and we have incredible volunteers who actually are trained to answer the phone calls and emails every day, so that we're able to initially respond and then provide them really a holistic viewpoint to what they might be managing. Because especially what you were bringing up earlier around the range of issues, often it's not just one issue, right, that someone might be managing from a legal standpoint. We run into this a lot with immigrant clients that we serve. And in particular, we have been doing a lot of work in New Haven with a range of undocumented families over the past couple years, in working with them in preparing what is called, sadly, a family preparedness plan, which is a legal document that if a family member was deported, what would happen to the children. And it is a plan that is a very lengthy plan that often, again, for people, number one, you don't want to have to think about that. And number two, when you're reading it, you don't know how to get started. And thirdly, you really need a lawyer engaged in order to sign off on it. And we've done a number of workshops, particularly in the New Haven area, with families and working one-on-one with clients to get that plan together.
Right.
Because again, it's not something you want to use,
Right.
but we are really in a climate that it might become necessary.
Yeah.
And those are the things that, we're trying to always be aware with the clients and families we work with. Where are the most immediate needs? What do we need to be offering more of?
Right.
And that's something for us recently. There's definitely been greater and greater need on immigration issues and connection with immigration attorneys.
Which is great. I mean, I think especially somebody who is going through some immigration issues, and I've spoken to a few, they are really on scary waters, and they don't understand, right?
Yeah.
And some of them, at least a few that I have spoken to, have even spent so much of their hard-earned money on lawyers that haven't helped them at all.
Agreed.
And that becomes a scary place, It's just good to know that you can say to them, hey, I heard of this organization called CWEALF, and just give them a call.
Agreed.
So this is valuable information. I know that I have both population that watch my show, so this is, I think, will come in very, very handy.
Yeah.
I also wanted to touch on your advocacy program. It's when individuals encounter barriers to independently resolving their legal issues. So you advocate with them? Is that what that's?
Correct. So again, an individual might come to us and just have a question and that's it. And they feel like their answer is there and they move on and move forward with getting that answer. But often we have individuals who want some more in-depth coaching, more in-depth guidance. We often also, for our advocacy clients, go to court with them, really are there to help explain what's happening to them, and really coach them through the process. And for many of these individuals, they could be choosing to self-represent, and our staff will be there to support them as they're self-representing. Or even if they're using an attorney, they often really appreciate having our staff there. Again, sometimes there's language barriers involved that we need to resolve. Often we might know the client's story more than the lawyer they're working with, and we can provide that support. And often it is really having that individual there that has kind of been there from the beginning, and really providing them, again, the guidance that often, from a standpoint of someone who's especially going through a legal issue for the first time, you don't know who to trust. And what we hear often from clients that, that we've served over the years is they really build that trust with our staff, and they know that, no matter if it is, a question about what they have to do in court next week, or if it's a question that their lawyer sent them that they want extra help on, that our staff is really there and supporting them in that kind of legal advocacy component. So it's often, visiting lawyers together, going to court together, really being there in that process, which is, again, more in depth than individual kind of calling or just getting a legal question answered. And from a standpoint of our reach across the state, we serve thousands of individuals every year, and the in-depth advocacy work that we do has primarily been in New Haven and Hartford area, but I would say that's usually because, to your point earlier, that's where we're known the most, right? So we do serve individuals in Eastern Connecticut and Fairfield County, and we're, again, just a phone call or email away for people that want to reach us.
Yeah, because from what I've seen on the site, I think you're only in one location, though, right?
We actually are in two locations.
Oh, you're in two.
So we actually do have our Hartford location, but we actually do have legal education staff in New Haven as well. And then we do workshops and community events across the state.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about community education.
That actually often are opportunities for our staff to meet with clients as well. One of the things we do is again, if anyone is listening and has interest in having a workshop about any of the legal education issues we cover, we can come and talk about those issues either with your organization or organizations that serve individuals in the community. We often will go to those organizations and present to those individuals as well, more as an education session for community members. So from a standpoint of any of the family law issues we work on a lot, or workplace discrimination, or some of the immigration and domestic violence issues that are very hot topics right now, we are really available to do workshops on those issues. And often during those workshops, we end up meeting individuals who want more of that engagement around their particular legal cases too.
So you do you do those community education classes throughout the Connecticut area, or just?
We do. So anyone who contacts us and indicates interest, we just set those up in our calendar with our staff, and again can really accommodate doing a session. Usually they're about an hour and a half to 2 hour workshops, and we really want to base them around what the audience is most interested in.
Yeah, because you have a lot of topics.
Yeah, because we have a lot of topics that we cover, and we usually try to get to know the organization to see what their greatest need is, and really make sure that we're covering the topics that are either of most interest to the staff or to the community members that are coming.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I mentioned some of the items or the information that you do give, earlier. And then when we come back, I want to talk to you about some other new things you got going on, right? So family medical leave, right?
Yes.
I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I also want to talk to you about the training that you're doing for educators on gender equality.
Excellent.
What is that, what is that becoming? What does that look like?
Yeah.
So that's exciting as well. And then I just want to talk a little bit about different ways that people can get involved with your organization.
Excellent.
Because it's just doing such amazing things, and I know that from people that I've spoken to that I just feel so lost. I don't know anything about the legal system, so it's really hard for me to give people advice when I don't know anything.
Right, and that's why we're there.
Yeah,
that's why we exist. Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Exactly. So when we come back, we're going to just touch on those things. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. So you come right back, because me and Kate are going to get into some really great topics about family medical leave. We're going to get into gender equality. What does that look like when you're educating educators? And I also want to show you how you can get involved with this amazing organization, how we can give more, how we can refer people more. So don't you miss it. Come right back.
Without CWEALF, I would not able to be the person that I was, the confidence that I gained through the program, the information, the guidance, the moral support that I received to achieve whatever I had to achieve in my divorce case. The program is free, and especially with people without income or low income, it helps them. It made it possible for me to be able to represent myself. Without that, I don't think I was going to be able to make it. A lot of people don't even know that they could represent themselves, but this makes it possible. I would not be able to make it without all the help and guidance that I received.
Sin CWEALF no hubiera podido representado mi caso de divorcio y custodia en corte. O sea, no hubiese podido tener el poder que yo necesitaba para poder, en ese caso que lo necesitaba tanto, tener mis derechos y conocerlos y representarlos. Te da todas esas herramientas, te da información gratis, te da hasta en tu propio idioma poderlo conocer toda la información y hacerlo de la mejor manera.
Hi, and welcome back. This is Nina Perez at Straight Talk, No Sugar Added, and I got my little bumper sticker here. I am a champion for women and girls from CWEALF. Got to get one. See it? This is mine. So we were talking about different community education, a lot of their programming, legal education program, information and referral, advocacy. But I wanted to talk to you, Kate, about some really important things you have coming on in the pipeline, right? So we have family medical leave.
Yes.
I want to touch on that.
Yes.
And I also want to talk about how you're training educators about gender equality.
Excellent.
So let's start with the family medical leave.
Yes.
Is this a federal mandate, state mandate, family medical leave, or?
Great question. And I'm so glad to share about this, because one of the things that our organization has done from our founding as well is advocate at the state capitol in Hartford for women's rights. And when we were founded, actually, one of the first bills that our organization advocated for was something that was called the Fair Credit Act. And if you can believe it, back in the early 70s, neither of us could have walked into a bank and gotten credit without a man, right? And our organization led the fight to change that.
Wow.
And now, 46 years later, we lead an economic security agenda for women and girls at the state capitol. And one of the core issues that we've led on for years is actually paid family medical leave. We are one of only 2 countries in the world that does not have paid family medical leave. And you might say, how can that be, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, when you think about our society, the US, just like every other country around the world, women carry the burden of caregiving, both for children, for parents, for aunts, uncles, cousins, all of those people. We often do more caregiving than anyone else. And when you don't have a system of paid family medical leave that as an employee you can use, what you see over time is that women often might be in lower level positions. They might have to leave their job. They might be making lower pay due to time out of the workforce. And we were able to pass last year. We became, now Connecticut is one of only 8 states around the country that is implementing a statewide paid family medical leave program.
That's huge.
And this will ensure that any employee, no matter your employer, you will be able to take up to 12 weeks of paid leave for birth or adoption of a child or self or family illness. And this will be life-changing for all of us. And it'll also really, I would say, even the playing field, because particularly when you think about gender roles, we also have a stigma often in our society, in our workplaces, of men often not taking leave, right? And because it's going to be available to everyone and anyone, we really not only see the economic benefits of this, but also you can see long-term there might be some gender role benefits here of men really being able to take on more caregiving responsibilities because of these changing expectations. And therefore, Connecticut has so much to be proud of that we passed this bill. And what people should expect to see is next year in 2021, the program will start to get up and running in regards to implementation, and then everyone will be able to take advantage of it and start using it in 2022.
That's really huge.
It is.
That's
huge. Yeah.
Because I definitely have, friends and stuff and family that have had to do exactly what you said. Take their own vacation time.
Yes.
And then they don't have vacation for the rest of the year, or they have to try to find a way for someone else to care for them while they have to work. I mean, it's really a balancing act. And I think this is going to help a lot of people, which is really fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You should be really proud of that.
Thank you. We're very excited. And it has a real impact on equal pay, which is a very big issue that we want to keep fighting for women, and particularly women of color who have greater equal pay gaps in our state. And family medical leave and having paid leave will start to close those gaps, hopefully even more.
How exciting. How
exciting.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And so I know that you're also, we were talking about gender equality, right?
Yes.
So it seems like you're also training educators as well. This is another thing to add on.
I know. Well, I have to say, as you said, in the bumper sticker, I am a champion. We really look at ourselves as an organization who is the statewide champion for women and girls, and we're trying to, again, kind of reach towards gender equality in a multitude of ways. And we definitely want to serve women, which we do through legal ed. We definitely want to fight for policy change that we do at the Capitol. But we also want to make sure that we are continually educating and training people in our communities that can make a difference.
Right.
And one of those groups are our teachers, our educators in schools. Because one of the things that you see, especially, and it's very related to equal pay actually, is one of the things is we often see career-wise is we still have so few women and girls, for instance, pursuing engineering, or even in our state we have a great manufacturing job need, but very few women and girls are going into those fields. And one of the things we do with educators around the state is train them on strategies of how to recruit and retain girls and women in those fields and in those classes. And that's kind of expanded into some employers as well, right, who are trying to retain and recruit women into those fields. And we really train, again, the educators and several employers to lay on not only kind of looking at what are the best practices here, but how do you implement that in your own classroom or in your own workplace. So yes, it has to do, for instance, with recruitment, right? And who's doing the recruitment or who's even on your promotional materials.
Right.
But then it also has to do with some of your practices in your workplace. You know, we know for, especially on the employer side, you know, employers often, you know, need to think through, particularly, for instance, when women are coming back from maternity leave.
Right.
How are they making sure that where an individual might be able to breastfeed is in proximity to where they're working, right? And it may seem like a very simple thing, but it's not that simple.
No, it's
and
not.
employers really need to think through these issues in order to retain women in their workforce.
Right.
So we really kind of meet people where they are, educators and employers, and talk through some of these best practices and train them on how to use those to change, again, what's going on in the classroom or in their workplace.
So when you are talking to the educators, the
Yes,
teachers,
yes.
is there a certain age gap or age class or something that you're targeting?
Great question.
Or are you just, you know, is it just college? Is it high school? Is it...
Yeah. We've actually talked primarily to middle school, high school, and
great,
collegiate.
great.
We know from research that where the gaps often start for girls and boys is in the middle school
That's
years.
what I was asking.
Yeah.
You've done your homework.
Right. So you want to make sure that educators at all levels, you know, are thinking through this. But the middle school teachers and counselors really do have a big stake in this. And that's where I would say there has to be a lot of coordination, even more coordination, I would say, than what is often happening between the middle school and the high school level. Often what I find in talking to high schools is there might be a 8th grade orientation night or an 8th grade parent opportunity to introduce students to the high school. And we'll talk through how can they use that in a different way to really promote these fields that the students and parents might not be thinking about.
Right.
And you have to create those connection points between kind of as middle schoolers are moving to high school so that they explore those fields and really see that they could be open to them. One of the things that comes up a lot is, for instance, particularly in engineering and manufacturing, we talk about how to really use role models in the community to talk about those fields and go into, you know, 8th grade classrooms and talk about them and really make sure that those students are seeing those role models, because they may not have ever met a female engineer or they may have never met a female who's a welder. And you know, ultimately, you know, we all know you can't be what you can't see, and we want to make sure that teachers are being mindful of this as they design their classes, as they really help their students on what their career options are.
That is so good. And you're right, though. But I think middle school, that's why I was asking. Because I think middle school is such an exploratory moment for all of us, right? We're always trying to still figure out who we are and what we like and what we don't like. And so this is a great way to pique an interest.
Agreed.
And, you know, a lot of our fields are changing, which is a very good thing, right? I mean, by trade, I'm a chef. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, was always hard being in this field for so long is that it was always a male-dominated industry. in just where I am, I'm changing that, so, but it's very nice to see that you're also thinking about that, and how we can educate teachers. And the good thing too, I think, is you're probably also going to be dealing with younger teachers too, which can be very good, because they can be more open to stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So, it's like the old saying, right, where I remember when my kids were younger, it would be like, oh, they're just boys. Boys will be boys. Oh, girls will be girls. And it's just like,
Yes.
No,
we have to be aware of our own language, right?
I mean, really do,
I talk about bias a lot
Yeah.
in these trainings because it is an essential part of how we have to constantly be aware and constantly be aware of the structures that we put in place to mitigate all the biases we have, because we all have them.
We all have
That's
them.
human. That's how we're built as humans.
Yeah.
It really has to do with what do we do with that information, and how do we make sure that we're not making all of our decisions based on those biases without mitigating them in some way. But there's other, I just kind of note there's other great organizations that we love in the state who do a lot of out-of-school programming with girls, particular around STEM careers. But we've really tried to focus on kind of that teacher training role,
really smart.
because they have a real, they're needed to kind of help in this way with students.
Yeah. Well, it's an impact, right?
Yes.
I mean, they're the adult in the class, and as much as the kids don't want to listen all the time, there are some things that do stick. You know, you always have that one teacher that you really just like, that teacher said this, and that stuck with you, you know? So that's really smart, because you're going, maybe you can reach that one kid, but with a teacher, you can reach a multitude of kids, right? So that's very, very smart. And how are the teachers receiving that? Are they open to the education?
They are, and I think for them, they always want to expose more students, right, to different career paths. And I think for them, understandably, what I always say to them is, you have so much going on. You have so much you're responsible for. We try to really come in and give them a few tools to kind of tweak what they're already doing, and that often helps them. Just rethinking a little bit about how they structure a parent night, right? Or what examples they're showing in the classroom, or what even is physically up in their classroom. That can really help them kind of rethink things.
That's good.
And it's kind of those little tweaks that we help them think through. And because ultimately, they are an expert at what they do every day. We're really trying to provide, again, a little bit more of those gender equity tools, and hopefully that can make, again, some of the changes for continually improving the number of girls and women in these underrepresented fields.
Yeah. Well, you're doing amazing work. Congratulations on the work you guys are doing. Really, it's fantastic. I was very excited to have you here today, and super excited even after when I read everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like overload of amazing, wonderful information. I think there's something there for everyone, and obviously even teachers, even educators. So, I encourage teachers. I know a few teachers personally, and I will encourage teachers to reach out also. Maybe it's something they can implement in their schools here, you know, so it's super important, especially in the times that we're in and the way we're going. Girls need to feel like they're also an equal part of this, so that's a great thing. I wanted to highlight or also talk about just different ways that people can get involved with CWEALF, because first of all, you need to be known. So we got to spread the word.
Spread the word.
But there's also ways that to give back. Also, maybe you're not an educator, or maybe you don't need the services right now. But that doesn't mean that you can't help support the cause, right?
Agreed.
So I went on your site and I saw you have a few ways of doing this. So I wanted you to kind of break them down to us, if you don't mind. So different ways that people can be involved.
Sure. Well, first off, I want to make clear that we are a nonprofit. We're only here because people like you, people like our incredible donors and foundations and corporate partners for the 46 years have said, we need you, right? And so that is only possible because of donors. And so absolutely, we really value individuals who just say, you know what, I believe in your cause, and how can I be a part of it as a donor in any way, at any level? And that's something we really value and is a necessity for us to kind of keep doing our work. Secondly, we absolutely continually seek volunteers, and that is in each area of our work. We definitely seek volunteers to, number one, be trained to support our legal education clients. So those are individuals who can get trained to respond to client questions. And we have a multi-month training program that prepares people to do that. We also are always seeking volunteer attorneys who have particular expertise in our areas of work, who want to join our cause and be a part of our attorney network.
And does that matter if it's a male or female?
Not at all.
Okay,
not at all.
Great.
Not at all. And then we're also always seeking volunteers to help with events, to help with communications, based on skills you might have. So on our website, just like you can visit our website to donate, you can visit our website to volunteer. And thirdly, I'd encourage people to visit our website and sign up for our email updates, because one of the ways to be active with us is also to take action on the policy issues we work on. So if you sign up for our email updates and follow us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, you'll get the latest on the different bills we're working on and when to call your legislators, when to write letters, all those types of activities
so people can get involved.
Exactly.
That's great.
So those are really kind of the three ways that we'd love for people to get involved.
Okay, great. And I know that when I went on there was a lot of ways to do that as well, right? So there was you can be a monthly giver if you want,
Absolutely.
a one-time giver if you want. Does your I saw a cool little thing that says, does your employer match your donation?
Yes,
That's
which
really
a lot
smart.
of employees
Yeah.
don't think about all the time.
I never thought of that, but that's smart.
It's so impactful, especially for any nonprofit who is with that employer contribution. We can suddenly often double the gift that an employee is making. Yes, and we often also have an opportunity. Someone might come to us as an individual donor, and then they might find another champion in their corporation who wants to be a corporate donor as well. So we really want to open the door to however an individual or a company might see that they want to make sure that they're supporting women and girls in the state.
That's great. And it sounds like you're already trying to network as it is with other organizations too, with other nonprofits. It sounded like, right?
We do.
Yeah, like a quick example was your domestic violence one, right? Yeah, you said maybe we can't because it's an urgent need, but we have other places we can help with. So that's great.
Agreed. Yeah. One of the things we've led in the state now for a couple years is we lead a network that's called the Connecticut Collective for Women and Girls, and it's a network of 35 women and girls serving organizations around the state. And that really allows us to connect with each other in ways to not only serve our clients, but also to make sure that we're really working on issues together and really making sure that we're making referrals in a better way and really connecting on what kind of activities and events we can do together too.
That's wonderful. Networking. It's so powerful.
Exactly.
Especially for nonprofits, right? I mean, I've worked for a nonprofit, and it's just, you're the boots on the ground. Yeah. You're the boots on the ground. And so you need that support system.
Correct.
And nonprofits are a heart. They're my heart. I love them.
Yeah. Yes.
So you also can do it through, I saw this, which was really cool, Amazon Smile. So a percentage of your education goes to the Education Legal Fund as a charity.
Yes.
So they can choose that as well.
Absolutely.
And the Shirley.
So I can tell you about the Shirley Bysewicz Literacy
Thank you for saying
Society.
the last name.
Yeah, so actually Shirley Bysewicz, who actually is the mother of our current Lieutenant Governor, Susan Bysewicz, Shirley was one of our founders. So when I spoke to earlier that we were founded by several women who went to law school in the early 1970s, Shirley was one of those. and she worked at UConn Law School. She was very active around women and girls issues in the 1970s and for decades in the state. And we have a special legacy society that's named after her for anyone that includes our organization in their estate planning. So anyone who is kind of thoughtful about, we want to make sure CWEALF is here even after I'm not. We want to make sure we acknowledge those individuals. So in regards to donation, as you said, it might be a one-time gift, it might be a gift that you give in honor of someone else. We often have that happen. Or it might be planning for the future, which is, we have many people around the state who want to be a part of the Legacy Society, so that they can say, when I'm not here, a part of, what I have left, can go to CWEALF and can be a part of making sure that this organization is here in the future. Yeah,
I mean, well, it looks like, people already know about you because you've been here 46 years. But we need more people to need more people to know about you, because I think what you're doing serves a greater cause, and it's definitely important, and it's something that I feel like most of us women and girls lack, the education in that, right? So I applaud you guys. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Thank you for my sticker there.
Yes,
I appreciate
absolutely.
that. And I just want to give some information on how people can contact you.
Please
So,
do.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
An absolute pleasure. So to contact CWEALF, you're going to go onto www.CWEALF.org. It's CWEALF.org. You can call them at 860-247-6090. You can email them, CWEALF@CWEALF.org, and their office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Did I say all that correct?
You did, absolutely. And at any point in time that people call or email us, we, especially with legal education questions, we'll always get back to people, the very next day to make sure that their questions are answered.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm sure that
Thank you.
everyone watching is glad that you're here. This is going to be a wonderful resource for people who didn't even know that you were here, but hopefully will now. And we're in the Fairfield County area, so we need to get your name out here even more.
Yeah. And again, we've had some great supporters and have done any number of workshops down here, but we always want to make sure that more and more people use this as a resource in this region.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for watching. I am a champion for women and girls, CWEALF. Make sure you contact them. Donate, go on their page, be involved, be a volunteer, do something. I think it'll be worth your time. Thank you so much for watching. Be very kind and respectful to one another. Until next time.